Hello, everyone. I want to introduce two very special guests today, two Eritrean women and entrepreneurs, also very proud Eritreans that are very involved in their community, active in YPFDJ. Our first guest is Yorsale Tekle, who has started Lilacharms, and Azmera Abraham, who has started eriscarfs. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, tell their story, and tell us the story of their amazing brands, which we all love and have been buying for years. So we'll start with Yorsalen.
Okay, thank you for having me, by the way. So my name is Jerusalem Tekle. I live in Virginia. I migrated to the US as a 10-year-old, so I've been living here for quite a while. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University to study business administration, and I have been in the human resources field for a little over 10 years now. So currently I support a minority-owned small business that's a government contractor. Jewelry is something that I've always been interested in, and wanted to create a business out of it. Mainly putting the highlight on Eritrean pride. A lot of vendors out currently, as it relates to jewelry, don't have too many options as far as Eritrean inspired products. So that was kind of what I was aiming for with the Eritrean pride as a highlight, but also offer other African customers that we have an option to select from our collection. So, Eritrea as the highlight, but also Pan-Africa as kind of the theme behind it, as unity is also something very important to me.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Asmara?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me and eriscarfs. I am the founder of eriscarfs brand. I'm actually wearing an eriscarfs today, but so my background is in real estate, and I've been in real estate for over like 15 years. I have been a member of YPFDJ for quite some time as well too, and have served at my local chapter in Washington, D.C., and also on the national board, NACC. As the media and culture and identity member or chair. I have actually, this business was created because of my time in the community and just being amongst my fellow YPFDJ members and Hamade, and just seeing really a need for representation for women. There's so many things that are created, with men in mind, whether it's scarves or hats or whatnot, and women are such an integral part of the movement and have always been and continue to be on the forefront. And so feeling the need to create a product that caters to us. The funny story is when I created scarves, I didn't do it because I was looking for a product to sell. I actually created it for myself. Oftentimes I would go to, marches or the ECC, and we're having events, and I would find myself wanting to represent where I'm from, and there was kind of a lack or a void when it came to products that were for women, where you can just easily put on. And so one day we had this bund ceremony with Hamada members and young YPFDJ members, and I actually made a scarf for myself and wore it there one day. And all the Hamada women were simply in awe. They're like, I need this. Can I have this one? And I was like, well, this is mine. I made it for myself. I didn't really create it for resale, but I can make you one if you want. And so that is how this brand was kind of birthed, right? That's how this eriscarfs was created because I felt like there was a void for myself, and then other people saw that same kind of void and wanted this product, and then we just kind of made it in mass. So, yep, but I've always kind of been entrepreneurial spirited. I've started a lot of businesses. One of the things that draws me to real estate is because you kind of have to be an entrepreneur to kind of get in that field because, you know, the business doesn't come to you. You know, you kind of have to create a space for yourself. And so it's an honor to actually be able to create something where you see your fellow community members wear and love to wear, you know, whether it's young or old. Like, you don't understand. Every time I see somebody wear this, and keep in mind, not all of the air scarves that are out there are not made by me, but the design was created by me, right? Because there's a lot of, as we say, knockoffs in the business. And so everything is not made and sold by me, but it's a compliment to see that people are replicating it and you know, creating imitations. That's fine with me, but you know, it's nice to see when I go somewhere and I see people wearing it, like, it brings the biggest smile to my face because it was something that was lacking, you know what I mean, in the marketplace or in our community, and I was able to fill that void. I think the really cool thing about, you know, diaspora entrepreneurs is that they're uniquely positioned to recognize like opportunities in our communities, and we're able to seize them and make the best out of them. You know, who else but us to create something for our people? So that was, for the most part,
That's
the story behind eriscarfs.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Azmera. And we definitely love the Aries scarf. I have multiple, so thank you for that. And Yorsale, yours is really unique when you said how you're really passionate about unity as well. And I did notice that you do sell other pieces that are representative of other African countries. So could you talk, and your business is actually pretty new, but it's done so well. And I love everything that you have there. All of it's amazing, all good quality. Could you elaborate on a little bit more about your business and how you got started? What inspired you the most to just start that? And then what made you want to branch out and have it be more unified?
Sure. So, you know, whenever I was interested in purchasing an item such as this that I'm wearing, like a set, I know where to go get that, right? But, you know, when I go to that website or to that vendor, I also want to pick up maybe an African shaped pendant or a ring, but I can never find that. So a lot of times I see people kind of cornering themselves and focusing on one area. And I feel like as women, you should expand on the opportunities that are presented to you. So I don't think there's anything better than representing the pride of Eritrea, but also promoting unity, because that is extremely important to me. I think you are stronger when you are unified with other African nations. You know, we are people of pride, right? So there's no denying that, but unity is also very important. Especially in the climate that we're in. So I wanted to encompass that. So primarily, you know, it's Eritrean pride. So we have more Eritrean products than any other, you know, African country per se. But I did want to give it the Pan-Africa feel. So we have other maps of African countries that we sell. You know, and not so much so focused on East Africa. But there's, you know, no denying the pride. You know, the first minute, you know, chance that you land on our website, you know, the tagline is spirit and roots from Eritrea, inspired by East Africa and empowered by Africa. So, you know, it's a very clear distinction of who we are and what we promote, but also the sense of, you know, all are welcome. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Another thing that I noticed about your products are they have really unique names, which I think is really cool. Could you talk about that as well?
So, you know, the names, for sure, I have to, you know, give credit here to YPFDJ. You know, this is these are principles that I learned while I was in YPFDJ that stuck with me ever since. I don't know if, Mr. Dawit and Mr. Brahane understand the influence that they have on us who have, come across them. But so, for example, if I can show you, I can point to you a couple of our products here so you can see. So this one in particular here is referenced as habo, and this is referenced as nih, and it's referencing strength and determination. We have a couple of other popular ones like the Zoba one here that I can show you. Hopefully you can see these through the screen, but it highlights the 6 regions or Zobas that we have that a lot of people actually really like, that you don't really see anywhere else, because it actually shows.
Can you put it up closer?
Sure, it actually shows you the outline of the Zobas there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so we also have the, obviously the emblem, right? The camel. So we have 2 versions of it, the cutout version and the solid version. And this one is named Zoba and Guzo. And you're gonna have to excuse my accent here, okay? And then of course, the most popular one I would say would be the Rahua one, which is the Giz script, and it is spelling out Ertra. But I think the one that resonates most with me that we just introduced very recently is the wreath piece that we have. We just added it to our collection about a month ago. And the reason it actually resonates with us a lot is it sparks a high interest from our non-Eritrean customers, which I never saw coming at all, right? So I often get questions through Instagram or Facebook, asking, does this come with in an earring, or does this come only in a necklace, and what is it? What does it represent? So I'm always eager to touch on what it represents, which leads into a longer conversation with non-Eritrean customers, with them walking away with an understanding of what the outer 30 leaves represent, what the inner 9 represent, and what the 6 ones represent. So they walk away learning about the flag, the colors, the red, ascending from the large to a smaller point, or the green one and the blue color ascending from, heading to a larger a realm or point, and the meaning behind it. So that's been actually my favorite part in communicating that information to non-Eritreans who walk away learning about Eritrea or getting their first introduction. So, I kind of reference to it as introducing Eritrea one wreath at a time, basically. So that's been my favorite piece so far, and the names are definitely from principles that I've learned while volunteering or working within YPFDJ, and all the lessons that we received throughout our time volunteering, and how it still resonates, and it really teaches you to just be prideful in everyday life in the way you represent Eritrea.
That's awesome. And one thing I love about both of your products is, like, for instance, the wreath, the fact that it's the right wreath. Like, a lot of people, even some Eritreans, don't know that some of the wreaths that are out there aren't the right one. And I look for that when I'm looking for things to wear or buy, jewelry to buy, and both of yours are the right one. And I think that's so important. And that just shows that you have a lot of knowledge going into producing products for Eritreans.
Yeah.
I think, though, that was a learning curve. I think my very first scarf that I ever created was not the correct wreath. But I think that's part of business, is that when you're creating things, in mass production or for your community or whatever it is that you're creating, right? As a creative, you always want to make sure that it is correct. But I think since we're speaking on entrepreneurship, I think it's really important, and this is a great lesson for people, is to understand that you're not always going to get it right the first time. And it's okay to start something because you have the passion for it, and to go for it. And, growth does take learning from your mistakes. And so don't feel like, you can't start a business, whether it's online or, a retail spot, because you feel like you don't know everything. Entrepreneurship, a lot of it is taking risks. And when you see there's a void in the, and there's a need for something, to just go for it, and you're going to learn along the way, so you're educating yourself, but then you're also educating so many other people too at the same time, just like Jerusalem was saying, is she's educating people who are not Eritreans, and so I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. And that's why I always encourage people to go for whatever it is that they're passionate about, even if it's full-time or part-time. It's really key, especially as women entrepreneurs as well, right? Because they say that women entrepreneurs are, probably in the United States, women, Black entrepreneurs are the leading number of business owners in this country. And so I would definitely, the wreath was a big one. Now we have it right, after the first, I think, batch, second, third, fourth, fifth, we were good. But so it's an opportunity to educate along the way as well.
And Luwam, if I can add one more thing about the wreath. So capturing the essence of it and getting the correct design was super important to me. And I have to give credit here to Dr. Gideon, because I remember he's very big on that, making sure, coming down to like the bottom three legs that stand the wreath, you have to make sure you get that right. So it's, people like that, they may not understand or have a full, I guess, I don't want to say the word understanding, but their reach, basically, when they speak, we listen. So, kudos to Dr. Gideon for always pointing those things out to us so we can get it right.
Yeah, that's definitely very, very important. I agree. So another thing, if you guys both don't mind touching on this, is I notice a lot of times when people, Eritreans, start a business, a lot of times one thing that I think is missing sometimes is just making sure that it's like an Eritrean brand, like the emphasis on it being an Eritrean brand, which you both have done really well. And to me, it makes me feel, I don't know, like more connected to it, like it fully represents me. So could you both talk about why that was important to you and why you chose to do it that way?
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to integrity when it comes to that. I do see vendors, I guess I should say that a lot of times nowadays in business, you're asked to collaborate a lot, for example. That's kind of the thing to do. So sometimes I do see vendors collaborating at the cost of their integrity, right? And that means, kind of okaying things that they're really not okay with for the sake of making the dollar. For me, it doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, I have to answer to my spirit. I have to answer to my soul. I have to be conscious of how I conduct myself and how it represents Eritrea, because that's another thing in YPFTJ that I walked away from, that every day we are ambassadors of Eritrea, whether we're on a small platform or a large platform. So whenever I make business decisions, if that compromises the way Eritrea looks, then I don't want to have anything to do with it. And so the main focus for me is representing Eritrea with full integrity.
I think for me, making it known that I am an Eritrean owned brand and business is, the foundation of why we started is solely based on our community and our unity and Eritrea. Our main buyers are our community. And so it means very much to me to make sure that people understand that, it's a young Eritrean woman who has created something for us, right? So I think that's a huge part of why I do what I do. It wasn't really solely driven on, income. It was more of having something for us that was created by us. And it's important that people understand that, hey, this was created by a fellow YPFDJ member. It was created by a young Eritrean entrepreneur, right? So they take pride not just wearing something that represents their country, but knowing that this was created by someone who is from their country, right? And so I think that is why every opportunity that I have, I make sure that people understand and know that it is created by one of your own.
Yes, I think that's definitely important to me, because I feel like growing up, there wasn't, like, I was always educating people about Eritrea because there wasn't much information out there about Eritrea. So whenever I think within the past like 10 years or so, there's been better representation and more information, and you ladies starting businesses like this, like having material out there for me to wear and be able to represent my country, and people ask me what that is or where it's from, giving me the opportunity to talk about Eritrea is very important. I'm always looking for opportunities to represent Eritrea. So I want to thank both of you for just making it such an Eritrean brand, like putting so much emphasis on that. I think it's super important. So I just want to thank you for doing it that way, because to me, it makes me feel like I'm being fully represented in that moment.
You know what's so funny, Luwam, is my cousin, she was wearing like the Aries scarf, the first one, and she was just wearing it like she was out having lunch on her lunch break, and she had it on, and she cracked me up because she's like, Azmera, you will believe it. Somebody stopped me and said, "Whoa, that scarf, is that Gucci?" And she's like, "No, it's eriscarfs."
Oh, so cute.
And I was dying because I was like, what? And so like to hear these stories, I know, okay, there's no comparison, but for people to question what it is and then ask, and then it's like you have an opportunity to tell the story, it's a beautiful thing. And it's really an honor to be part of this and to create something like this that has such a worldwide effect. I mean, pretty awesome.
And Azmera, for you, like, I see Aries scarves literally all over the world. There's Eritreans wearing it everywhere. Do you know how many you've sold, roughly?
I don't, to be honest with you. The funny thing is, so the first year that it came out was in 2015, right? So like, I think our boon ceremony, and when I created one for myself was, I think it was during like the Women's Day time where we had all these events. And so I wore it, and then I created it for like, I think it was Independence or something, and sold it in DC. And so at that year, I was the only person creating it, right? Because I created the design. And then after that, it just spread. So there are people that were creating it everywhere, So, we sell to Europe, but not as much as we do in the States. And so it was everywhere. There's people like, hey, someone's selling it in Seattle. I'm like, oh, okay, what? Someone's selling it here in, Europe. I'm like, oh, okay. And so to me, I think, of course, it's intellectual property, it's a design, and you go on and on and on about that, but it was never about the money, when we started it. So it's nice that the design and people love it and it can spread, and there's tons of imitation versions of it. There's a lot, we've obviously expanded our collection of scarves. And so there's always the classic scarf, but then there's a ton of other ones, and we sell additional products online as well too. And so it's hard to say, because you do see it everywhere, and I'm always like, oh, is that my design or is that an imitation? And there's things about, colors and stuff like that I, as the person who created it, can tell what's the original and what's an imposter. But nonetheless, I think no one knows or cares as long as it has very specific things like the wreath and things like that, and the colors that are in line with what they want. And there's so many variations of it now, which is okay. But I don't know how many have been sold because we are not the only producers of it now. We created the design, and it just kind of spread from there.
How many variations of the scarf do you have? Because I know you have different themes and different ones. How
So
many different?
yeah, so we have our classic one, which is red, and then it has the blue, red, and green at the bottom with the gold, wreath. And then we have, we have chiffon ones with gold emblem. We have blue. We have white. We have, some with, like the one that is pretty cool. It's like, how people collect things. People collect our scarves. Like, you have to have the collection, right? So we have one with camels, flags. You just got to have the collection of them. And so we've made a ton of different variations. I think the most popular one obviously is going to be the classic one, the one that first came out. And those are the ones that people love. But I tell you what, the thing that I love about our community is they're so innovative. Like, I've had people purchase some of my scarves. So I have like this chiffon material, and they'll make chiffons with it. Okay. They'll say, hey, we're having an event. It's 6 of us. We need to make chiffons. How many do I need? And it's like all over the United States. And I'm like, okay. They're like, do you sell the dress? I don't see it on the website. I'm like, no, because somebody here in DC, they made it into a chiffon, but if you want to make it into chiffon, you can just buy the actual pieces and make it. And so it's so interesting. Like, people do all sorts of things with these scarves, and it just blows my mind. And I love it because they take something and they like their design and just recreate it and make it their own as well too, So it's a beautiful thing when you can make something that people love, and reproduce and share and talk about and refer people to, that's like I think that's the best part of the business, is that part,
Mm-hmm.
To be able to create something that people love, because it didn't exist before.
Right.
It didn't exist. It's like, as women, we are so involved. I mean, when you go to these like things, festivals, conferences, like, women are such a huge part of the community, but there was really nothing that was new, because there's so many amazing things that over generations that have been around, but there was nothing new that was created and was, designed for the modern Eritrean woman, and so it's nice to be able to just do that, so, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. If you both don't mind talking about what this whole journey of being an entrepreneur, an Eritrean woman entrepreneur has been like I think a lot of times when people are wanting to start a business, there's a lot of fear behind that starting out. There's a lot of uncertainty of how successful it'll be. So if you don't mind sharing any advice that you have for young Eritrean women like myself who might want to start a business one day, and also the importance of carrying your Eritrean identity with you through that process.
Absolutely, yeah. I think one of the best ways for Eritreans, Africans, just women, to start a profitable business. I think, especially in the time that we live in right now, doing it online is absolutely rewarding. I think it helps grow your audience, from just like your neighborhood to the entire world. Right? There are Eritreans all over the world. There are Africans all over the world. There are people all over the world. And I think it's really important for people to just kind of expand their horizon. We're moving into a new age, right? Where a lot of things are done online. So there's so many different ways where you can generate revenue, from starting an online shop, to selling digital products, to having online coaching, right? There's so many people that are so talented and knowledgeable in so many different things, right? You don't have to sell a product, but if you're, if your thing is global politics, or if your thing is, business management, if your thing is economics, I mean, there's so many ways where you can do that online right now. So I think number one, never be afraid to just go out there and try. Um, Even if you do fail, it's a learning process. No one gets it right the first time. And if someone says they got it right the first time, they're lying, okay? Because you don't. Even the most brilliant minds, sometimes do get it wrong the first time, or the second and the third and the fourth. I think the biggest thing is just fear. Don't be afraid to try, and don't feel limited to what you can do. I think a lot of times, you don't have to necessarily sell a scarf or jewelry or whatever it is, right? You can sell your expertise as well too. So think about the future in a different way, right? If you're an educator, whatever it is that you have expertise in, understand that online there's a platform where you can grow your audience, and it's not limited to your neighborhood. It's not limited to the state. It's not limited to the United States. It's not limited to Eritreans. You can really expand and be global. And so I think that is probably one of the biggest things that I would have to say. And one of the important things to kind of remember too is that research suggests that diaspora entrepreneurs can contribute to development. They can create jobs, stimulate innovation. They can go back home and expand those businesses. I mean, it's not limited to us being here in America as well too. There's opportunities for people who want to go back home to be able to still go back home and run an online business. Right? And so the world that we live in is not so small anymore. You're not limited to what you thought was a career for you, right? You can do it from anywhere. And there's so many people that want to go back home and live there and feel like they can't because their job is here. But this kind of opens things up. And so, the beauty of what we did is we didn't start selling it online. We actually started selling it in person. But then we said, hey, there's so many other people that are reaching out to us in different states and countries that aren't able to come to the festival, or who don't live in the United States, that want to be able to purchase our products. How can we still cater to them? And so online is a crucial component, but I think, if you're passionate about something, go for it. That would be my advice. I've always lived by that, and I encourage everyone to live by that. If it's something that you want to do, go for it. Go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for me, I would say in anything that you do, I think most important thing would be to attach purpose to it. So if your driving force is, making money, at some point you're going to find yourself burned out. If you attach some type of a purpose to it, however, you're working towards accomplishing that goal, right? So there's always going to be this good energy that's going to propel you to get there. So Lilacharm, being that it just launched in December, right now my focus to have it gain more visibility and tap into the niche markets that I want to tap into, right? But eventually there's a purpose for it. It has to do with women empowerment in Eritrea, possibly an organization, or possibly working with already existing organizations there. It's something that I've actually started thinking about. So there's that end point goal that I'm working towards, and so that's kind of the fuel behind it. So there's the pride aspect, there's the goal aspect, and also as a woman entrepreneur, you want to set an example for our younger Eritrean sisters that you can by trade be a doctor, an engineer, in human resources, in real estate, and still be able to operate a business, that you can attach a purpose to, right? And therefore it gives you a pool of funds that you can tap into to contribute towards your country. And so I would highly recommend, attaching a purpose to it so that you're not burnt out easily, or you're not kind of motivated by money only. or profit, I should say.
Thank you. That was some really good advice. Um, Speaking of your purpose, Yorsale, I know that your business just started in December. I feel like it's been around longer though, because it's just been doing so great. But I do remember reading a little bit more about your purpose. Do you mind talking more about like what you envision for your business and like what's next for your business? Because I know it's new and starting out.
Eventually, I do want to, get to a point where I am able to fund possibly a school or a women's empowerment type of initiative. And currently, for example, I'm working with manufacturers overseas. Some are in Kenya, some are in South Africa, some are in India, and some are in the Middle East, etc. But really, in my heart, I know that I want my manufacturers to be from Eritrea, right? So that's also something that, eventually that I want to work towards. God willing, in divine order, it will happen, right? Having your manufacturers proudly come from Eritrea, and then you taking your profit and throwing it back out to empowering the community, and also doing something that you find fun, right? That's just the perfect trio combination, all coming together. So eventually, in divine order, I would say that's kind of the direction that I want to go into.
Thank you. And then I just want to ask also, when it comes to starting a business, I know there's a lot more than just creating the product. There's a lot you need to know. So did you ladies have any education in business, or what did you do to like make sure you were equipped with the knowledge that you needed to successfully launch your businesses?
I think in today's day and age, information is readily available. Just being in the business world and working in an environment where I work with the public, and my background is in marketing and advertising as well too. So that kind of helped, because a lot of the things that I did for my business, I did for a company. And so I was able to use my experience and knowledge and apply it to my business. But I don't think that's a limitation for anyone. Not having the skill set or knowledge already doesn't mean that you can't start a business, because information is available to us now, whether it's online or continued education of some sort. And so I think, it was great that I had some of the skill set before launching my business, but I don't think it's required, because the information is available. So that shouldn't be a roadblock for anyone to not start their business.
Yeah, I would add, knowledge is power. So information is at your fingertips that you can, easily research. For me, I went to school for, business administration. So I had a good overview or understanding of how to operate a business, but I also have, some great influences in my life, such as my husband that, who's a business owner, that instills in me, these pointers that I would need to look into. I had to perfect my negotiation skills, those kind of things. But I would also recommend having mentors that you can tap into that are already doing great things for themselves. For a female, I would recommend a female entrepreneur, and just because a female brings a different dynamic to you and can encourage you in certain ways. That is more fulfilling, I would say. So definitely having mentors you can look up to, surrounding yourself with like-minded people as it relates to businesses, but also people that are, asking you to push yourself and not stay stagnant in the level that you're in.
Thank you so much for that as well. I think a lot of times people do feel like they're limited when they just don't feel like they're equipped with knowledge or resources outside of like financial things. They just don't feel like they can do it. So I think that's really important to mention, that to just not feel limited by any of that, and that you can go out here and still start and learn as you go, like you were saying, how you can make mistakes, and you will make mistakes, and from there just that's like the biggest lesson. That's where the most lessons probably are anyway, is from those mistakes. So that's all really important. I guess to close out, I was just going to ask if there was one piece of advice that you had for our HIDRI and YPFDJ members, what would it be?
I think for me, as Eritreans in the diaspora, I think we're uniquely positioned to see what our community needs and be able to provide that. I think it's important for young HIDRI and YPFDJ members to really understand that the sky is the limit, and don't create your own boundaries of what you can achieve. It's important for people to understand that. I know in our community, sometimes we're limited to, the ideal career, but we need people in all arenas. And so I think when you're passionate and about a specific thing, go for it. You're going to have the support, because eventually when you get to where you want to be, people will see why you pursued this particular thing. But the sky's the limit. Go for whatever it is that you want to do, and make sure that you never lose that pride for your community and for your culture. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It should only make you better and stronger in whatever that you do. I think those are the biggest things I would have to say to the younger generation.
Yeah, and I would add, being children of the diaspora, you're either an engineer, a doctor, or whatever the third option is. So I always say, follow your dream, right? If you can work hard, if there's a purpose you can attach to it. At the end of the day, I always say you answer to yourself. So if it's trade school and not engineer school, that, that's in your heart, as you become an adult, you're answering to yourself and not necessarily what society expects you to do. With that said, I'm saying that you absolutely have to be responsible with your decision making. So if truly trade school is what you want to do, truly owning a business is what you want to do, something outside of the usual standard expectations of what society and your family has, you have to be very intentional in your decision making. So it's not, carelessly or loosely just testing things out. Although that's also, something that's welcome. You have to test something out to see if it's going to work for you. But I guess what I'm saying is not constricting yourself to expectations of your family and your, the society that you live in, because at the end of the day, your happiness matters, your sanity matters, and you pay your bills and you answer to yourself, right? So you have to do what is true to you and your heart. And I cannot stress leading with integrity, and how that, how happy that will make you if you can keep integrity at the center of your everyday life.
And where I know where to purchase your amazing products, but if you could both just let us know where we can go to purchase your products, read more about them, and just learn more about them. I know there's probably different sources for that.
I'm online at eriscarfs.com, eriscarfs.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at eriscarfs. So, yep. Check us out if you haven't already.
So same here. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook. It's Lilacharm.com. Many great products we aim to please. So come on over and visit us.
Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate you both being on here. It's been my pleasure getting to speak with you and learn more about you, the faces behind Lilacharm and eriscarfs, and I encourage everyone to go and check out both of these amazing websites and products. They have a lot of great things, and they represent Eritreans fully, which is, to me, the most important thing. So I want to thank both of you for your time today.